Hello, my name is Sarah and welcome to Something Shakespeare. I have just arrived at the beautiful Stratford-upon-Avon. I am here tonight to see the Royal Shakespeare Company performance of Cymbeline. This is going to be quite a special performance because it is the last production that has been directed by Greg Doran, the previous artistic director. Again, like previous times, I haven't done any pre-reading of what angle they're going to be taking. I'm parked next to the busiest road in Stratford. Motorbikes are so loud. I haven't done any pre-reading on this production of Cymbeline. Again, I'm going in cold. I know the play. I've seen previous productions. I love Cymbeline. I think it's the greatest hits of Shakespeare. Everything's in there. Very crazy story, but I do enjoy it. So I am really looking forward to this production. Because it is Greg's last production, I'm expecting them to pull out the stops. The last two productions have kind of been quite sedate in performance, production value. I'm not sure if that's the right way of saying it, but you know, this is the last time we're potentially going to be seeing Greg directing Shakespeare at the RSC. So I expect them to pull out the stops. I'm expecting this production to be something very special. Let's go see if we can get a little bit of footage of around Stratford. It is Thursday the 4th of May, may the 4th be with you, 2023. It's the morning after. I have just about recovered from a long drive back last night from Stratford-upon-Avon. Cymbeline doesn't come out the works very often, and I think it's a shame. It is worth noting though that it is Shakespeare's 4th longest play and longest comedy, so it is a lengthy play without some serious editing to take place. So what happens in Cymbeline? In a nutshell, it's a fairy tale. It is completely crazy in its story. It flies all over the place, and I think it's good fun. It's got some really wonderful, endearing characters in it. So you've got Cymbeline, the king of the Britons, in a time of early Roman settlement, and his daughter, Imogen, has married her childhood sweetheart, Posthumus, without her father's consent. Posthumus, as a result, is banished and he goes off to Rome, where he meets a character called Iachimo. Iachimo puts a bet against Posthumus that he could woo Imogen. Over in Britain, there is another character she's just called the Queen. She has a son called Cloten. The Queen is Imogen's stepmother, and she's trying to get her son. Cloten is trying to woo Imogen as well. Cloten's a bit of a clown in his own right. He's a very interesting character. The play is just all consequences of all these events, as well as Rome getting stuck in the middle of it as well. So this production was Greg Doran's final bow as director at the RSC. After 2 previous productions, we had back in February we had The Tempest, and we've just had Julius Caesar as well, and now we're into Cymbeline. And it's such a, particularly after Julius Caesar, I think this was such a breath of fresh air as a production of an artist knowing his craft. So let's talk about the production. What did we have? So once again, I only just got in time because I was on the upper circle, and there's no bar on the upper circle during the press nights because their bar is taken over by dignitaries. Anyway, so I got to my seat just before curtain up. I was up on the upper circle on C13, and I will say that is a cracking good seat. I had no problems in my view. That wasn't overly spoilt by anything. Just one small effect later on. I say small, it's a pretty big effect later on. As we went in, I could see the stage had been painted, and it was a beautiful blue and green in a swirl but slash manner, very streaky everywhere, or on the floor, up the walls, and then it was kind of reminded me of a river, and right in the middle of that, of the thrust, was a big circle. Now on the backstage as well was a circle that was the sun and the moon. Kind of looked like a giant bodhran, the Irish drum, but it was very effective. It was simple. Again, they've gone for a very minimal effect, but in this production the stage never felt empty. If they needed props, if they needed something, they just had it. So the bed that Imogen has, they had the bed. They had a table in for the Rome scene. They had thrones, they had chairs. If they needed it, they had it. I love the projection in this. They had projections. When I came in, there was this gorgeous, around the circle swirl, around the circle swirl was this beautiful Celtic, Celtic-esque art that was moving. It was animated, and it kind of looked like snakes, but it wasn't snakes, I don't think. It was very hypnotic. I could have just watched that, and that played a part later in the story, but it was really, I felt fortunate that I could see that. I don't know if whether people were sitting on in the stalls, on the floor stalls, would have been able to see that. And there were another couple of times that I saw projections from the top that I think would have been missed from the lower levels. Anyway, it was beautiful. It had a very earthy feel. It was very blue, very cold, kind of, but not a bad way. And I just really liked the essence of it. Costumes in this production as well. So again, I could recognise costumes that I had seen from other productions. However, these were good costumes. These are costumes that has quality in their making of them when they were originally made, and it fitted beautifully. It looked lush to look at. Cymbeline was played by associate actor Peter De Jersey, and it's always lovely to see Peter back on the stage. Imogen is played by Amber James. Very, very feisty Imogen, which I really like, particularly when she stands up to Cloten. It's just wonderful. Imogen's husband, Postumus, is played by Ed Sayer. Again, he's got loads of energy. Very, you really go on his journey and feel his pain. Now, I really hope I pronounced this right, but standout actor for me in this performance had to be Alexander Gilbreth. I hope that's pronounced right, Gilbreth. She plays the Queen, and she was having a ball. She was just having a great time. How often do you actually get to play the wicked stepmother Queen? Every swish of her dress, I could just feel that she was loving it. She kind of reminded me of the Killer Queen from We Will Rock You a little bit in her air, in her manner. And the thing with this, there was almost a very small hint of pantomime to it. It wouldn't have been out of sort for the audience to start booing in places. Her son Cloten is played by Conor Glean. Again, he was fantastic. He was so dramatic, so brilliant. Last time I've seen Cymbeline, I thought that the guy who played Cloten was amazing, but he was kind of a bit miscast because he was absolutely gorgeous, and thinking, well, why wouldn't Imogen want this guy? Whereas Conor Glean's portrayal of Cloten was, oh, this guy is gross, he's absolutely just a baby, and yeah, run Imogen, run for the hills. Which is what she does. It was also really good to see a return of Jamie Wilkes. He played Iachimo, and now last saw Jamie in All's Well That Ends Well, and he was absolutely fantastic in that. That kind of stole the production. So it was really good to see him back in Cymbeline, and he played Iachimo extremely well. Had a very similar air to his previous character, but it worked for him. Can't wait to see where Jamie's career with the RSC is going to go. I suspect there's another associate actor there in the waiting. Crowning points of this production was the music. So Paul Englishbley did the music for this production, and he played a very good card in having the Ulialian pipes as part of the score, which automatically gives it that very haunting effect, which when you're going in for something a little bit more earthy, just worked really, really well. Also, the lighting design and sound design of this production has been fantastic. They use a storm effect later on in the production, and it was super to watch, particularly when it then goes into another very big effect, and I was just in awe of what can be created on a theatre stage. It was brilliant. I had full faith in this production. I enjoyed it. It was a ride. It was fun. It's Cymbeline. It is a little bit of a cagey beast because it is long, it is wordy, but it is still good, and they balance. And I actually, what I really liked is that they embraced that. I didn't feel like too much had been hacked out of the script. I didn't miss anything. There were moments where I was in there, and I just didn't want it to end, particularly when you go into Milford Haven and meet the other characters there. And I'll tell you what there was really good responses from the audience to things that had happened. I'm not going to say what they are because I forget that, you know, I'm quite keyed in with my Shakespeare, so there are very few surprises for me. But seeing how other people responded to things, it's like, oh, you didn't know that was coming? Okie dokie. And so there were some cracking good reactions from the audience last night. Okay, so let's give this final review to Cymbeline. Was it approachable? Yes, it was a really, really enjoyable production. Very comical, very physical. Is it affordable? Yeah, I would say, again, if you know where to get your seats, then you can still get an affordable seat. And I also learnt yesterday, if you're a member of the RSC, your discounts is covered on drinks. Good tip there. You can catch Cymbeline at the Royal Shakespeare Company in Stratford-upon-Avon until the 27th of May 2023. That is just this month. It is not very long, but I would encourage you to go. This is a good production. It is enjoyable, it's magical. Because of the length of the play, it had a 15-minute interval, and then later on in the play it also had a 5-minute pause just while they just changed something of the set. I think finally I thought this was a very fitting final production for Greg. I had a sadness of just knowing that this was his last production. I think Greg has been, I think if you've seen my review for Greg Doran's book, then it's very clear that I've got a lot of respect for Greg. So I'm very thankful that I had the opportunity to go and see this production, and I would implore you, go. It's a good production. It's fun. It's a good fun ride, and accept it for the beast that it is and just go with it. So thank you so much for watching my review. Let me know in the comments, have you been to see Cymbeline? What did you think? I thought it was magical. I'd love to know what you thought. If you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to check out some of my other videos. It would be wonderful if you could support me by liking the video, and if you'd like to subscribe, there is a button down there somewhere. That brings me to the end, so I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much for your company, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.